And after we take a look at what it can do, we'll look at the new features that we just released for GP 2013 and SmartList Builder. So SmartList Builder consists of 4 different modules, the main being SmartList Builder, which does allow us to create new smart lists, as well as it contains Excel Report Builder. This adds on to the default Excel reports that Microsoft released with GP10 and have released again with 2010 and 2013, and allows us to build our own Excel refreshable reports. Navigation List Builder is another module that allows us to create new navigation lists from within GP. And then Drill Down Builder allows us to create drill downs from an Excel report or any other report outside of GP, such as SSRS or anything like that, and drill back to GP windows or GP Smart Lists to further review the data that we had in that external report. So let's take a look at what the different Builder modules can do. Let's flip over to GP here, and if we think about SmartList, we think there's always something more I want. Or if you're actually using the Excel reports or the navigation lists, a lot of those you're going to say, I want another field. I would like a whole different list of data than what they've already built for me by default. Maybe you're using an add-on module, something like that, where there isn't a smart list available for it. A smart list builder is going to allow us to add that data that we want to see and how we want to see it. So when I thought about it, I really would like a budget versus actual report in SmartList. There isn't anything I can do with the default GL reports here that allow me to do that. So I've actually built a budget versus actual SmartList using SmartList Builder. So here it is in SmartList, and you can see I've just pulled in the budget amount, the actual amounts, and then of course I'm showing the variance for every account in every year of my budgets. So when I look at this, it really isn't that much to do, but it can seem overwhelming. So let's look at it in SmartList Builder. So I'm going to flip over to SmartList Builder now, and if I pull up that budget versus actual report, you're going to see that I've added a couple of different tables, of course being the budget summaries, and the budget master, my account master, and I've actually written a SQL script. Now I could have added multiple tables on here, but I just wrote a simple SQL script to show you that I have that option as well to pull in my amounts. With SmartList Builder, I also can create calculated fields to pull in a variance, because that's not a data field in GP, it's all calculated on the fly, so I can create a calculated field to pull that in. I can also create go-tos, so those are those drill downs where I double click on a record in SmartList, or I go to the button over here, the go-to button, and drill back to a GP window. I can add those using SmartList Builder as well. SmartList Builder also has options for multi-company reporting. So if I look at a summary options, I can actually pull data from multiple companies, whichever ones are in my system, and put them into one smart list. Along with that, I can actually create summary smart lists if I like, where I can group the data by, say, an account number, a batch number, something like that, and it'll summarize the data versus seeing every detail line of that. So just to show you how easy SmartList Builder is to use, let's set one up. So I'm going to clear this out. What I'd like to do is set up a GL batch smart list here. So I'm going to call it GL batch, and we'll just account transaction batches is what we'll call it here. And I want it to go into the financial series in my smart list, so I'm going to select that. And now when I think about that, where does my batch information come from? I just need to figure out what table I would like to use. Well, since it's just the batch information, I'm going to pull in the posting tables from GP. And you can see there's a lot of different options here as far as tables, and when I look at the actual products, I have every product available to me that I have installed in my GP environment. So I'm going to pull the posting definitions master, and by saving that, I automatically get all the fields that are in that table. So now I'm just going to sort this alphabetically so it's a little bit easier to find the different fields I would like. And I'm just going to select a couple like the batch number. Let's see, let's do the batch comment. The checkbook might help us. Let's do the batch total. And what else might we need? I would like the number of transactions, the origin. We'll go with that for now. So now I'm going to change the sort so that I have those as my defaults at the top and I can play around with them. I don't like batch number. I want it to be called batch ID, so I can just retype that display name and easily change that. Or maybe number of transactions, I want that to say journal entries. Other options I have in here is the origin field in GP is not defined as far as what that drop-down list. When I look at the GP data, it stores integer values of 1, 2, 3 for those different things. So with SmartList Builder, I can define what a 1 means. So I'm going to say 1 is a general entry. We'll say 2 is a clearing entry. And I'm using the generic terms that GP might use. If you'd like to use something different, you can type in whatever you'd like it to define it as. Just be aware that what I have here is a 3 is what the data is going to store. So it is always a budget transaction whether or not I call it that. So we'll save that. So now I've changed the field options to be how I like them, but I really would like a calculated field or a field to show me the status of each batch. Well, there isn't a status field in this table, so I need to create a calculated field to do that. So I'm just going to go to calculations and do a new one, and we will call this status, and it's going to be a string because it's just a text field that I want to display that status of. And now you can see I can pull in any fields here that I'd like. And if I flip to functions, there's a lot of different functions available to do your calculations. It doesn't have to just be a simple multiply, divide, add, subtract type of calculation. I can do a lot of different date functions, a lot of different mathematical functions available as well as string functions. So maybe you just need to trim different string values. We can do that with SmartList Builder as well. So that you don't have to watch me type in the whole calculation, I've actually just pasted it in here. But what I'm doing is basically a case statement or an if-then type of statement if you want to think about that. So I'm saying if the batch status is a 3, then let's call it receiving. If it's a 1, let's call it posting. If it's a 4, let's call it posting. Just defining all the different types of numbers I could possibly run into and what I want to define them as. So I'm just going to save this, say OK, and now I want to turn that field on as well. A couple other things we can do in here. This is a general ledger batch list. Well, by default, this posting definitions master holds all of the tables, or all of the modules data. So I need to say it's just for the financial module. So I can add a restriction that's going to always be on that report. And I can do where the series is equal to financial. So now I have a restriction that the end user cannot change in SmartList. They can add additional restrictions in SmartList or search criteria, but they cannot change the fact that this is a financial report. And the last thing I want to do, I don't like the order of the columns that are there by default. I want to make them into the order I want. So I'm going to put batch ID, then let's put the comment. So I'm just going to move these up and down to match how I want them. That'll be good enough there. So we'll just save this. Now if I save this, you aren't supposed to see that error. I apologize. Okay. There we go. Okay. That is, now I have a smart list with that data in there. And you can see that it's pulling in the different fields, my different batches, giving me how many journal entries are in them, the total, and of course a status. So now I'm seeing this in SmartList. With SmartList Builder, it also is going to make these SmartList available in SmartView. SmartView is an alternate option to SmartList that eOne sells. And if I open it up here, we're going to see that it looks similar to SmartList, but I like to say it's SmartList on steroids. It allows me to pull in that same SmartList and view that same data, but then I can do a lot of extra things with that. I can, of course, see a total here is the first major thing. So I'm seeing a total of all those batches, which SmartList didn't give me. If I want to group by the status, I can actually see, okay, here's all my available ones. Oh, I got one with an error, and I'm grouping those out for myself. The other great thing SmartView can do for me is if I wanted filters, I can have as many filters as I want, where SmartList limits me to the 4 default search criteria. I can say, you know what, I really don't want checkbook ID, take that off of there, and it's gone by just unchecking and checking over here. The other thing SmartView really does for us is we have in testing found that it can be up to about 50 times, 100 times faster than a SmartList, depending on the SmartList you're running. This basic batch one, I only had 8 records, so it's pretty quick in both places, but when you get into your 20,000 record type of SmartList, SmartView can pull that data in a lot faster. There's a lot of other options with SmartView. If you're interested in any of that, just let your account manager, associates, or I know, and we can certainly take a look at a demo or something like that for you. We do actually have a special promotion running for everyone on the call today that goes until the end of March, and SmartView by default has 2 options. One that we use from within GP, just as we would use SmartList from within GP, and an external version that I launch outside of GP. It doesn't even require GP be installed on my machine. It doesn't use a GP user, and so it's completely external for those users who really don't need GP as a whole. Each one of those individually sells for $18.50, but with the promo we have going for you today, you can actually get both of them together for $2,000. So if you're interested in that, let your account manager know, and we can certainly get you more information. Now that we've looked a little bit at SmartList Builder, though, let's look at the other options. We had those 3 other options to use, so let's look at Excel Report Builder now. Since I've already set up that setup in SmartList Builder for our batches, let's just duplicate that over. So if you're an existing SmartList Builder user and want to look at using Excel Report next, we can actually just duplicate our setups, and we don't have to worry about recreating them from scratch. I apologize for this error. The SmartView I have installed is a beta version that I got this morning, and it obviously has an issue that I need to look at. But the Excel report here, and I can change the name if I'd like, or I can leave it the same so that I know it is truly the same report between both of them. I'll click Duplicate, and now I can duplicate that over to an Excel report. You can see it's a little bit different, but most of the options are the same. I still have the same tables, calculated fields are all here, the restrictions are here. What changes is the differences that you might have between SmartList and Excel in general. You know, SmartList has some different options that Excel doesn't. Excel has some options that SmartList doesn't. So I can take advantage of those options depending on the module I'm using. If I just click in here to create a view, Excel Report Builder creates Excel reports that are used outside of GP. So to do that, I need to create a SQL view since I'm not using the GP code to render that report. So now that I have this same setup with my same columns here, I'm going to click Publish, and I'm just going to put this on my desktop so that we can get to it easily. and click Publish. And now we have a new report on my desktop that I can open in Excel and see that same data. Now when it duplicates over, it duplicates with all the columns you had selected, not just the defaults. So I might want to change that after the duplication, but you can see it is the same data pulling in from that report. And with an Excel report, it is refreshable right from within Excel. All I have to do is come to the Data tab and click Refresh, and it's going to refresh. So I could have this open all day if I wanted to, and just every once in a while, when I need to see if there's a new batch or anything like that, click Refresh. Otherwise, it doesn't save the data in the actual Excel report, so every time I open it, it's going to pull in that Excel data. So that is Excel Report Builder, very similar to SmartList Builder as far as how the setup is going to go. Let's now take a look at Navigation List Builder, and I'm going to duplicate again the same report over to Navigation List. Click Duplicate, and then now I have that same report in Navigation List Builder with the same columns that I've selected. The options again here are about the same. The differences come in how a navigation list versus a smart list rendered data. But I still have my restrictions. I have calculations. Instead of go-tos, I have actions. They've just changed the name because Microsoft calls them different things within the different modules. So if I save this, go back to my main GP and go to my financial area page, now I have a GL Batches navigation list that the first time it takes a little bit to render. After that it's going to be a lot quicker, but now I have that same data here, and I can use the preview options, and I didn't check any different columns, so I'm getting the same data between both, but you could have different data between your list and your preview. I can also create as many go-tos and actions as I'd like here. You can see there's a batch entry one, and all of that can be used going across all of the 3 modules that we have there. The last feature, I'm going to go back to Home so we have a clear screen. The last feature is Drill Down Builder. Now Drill Down Builder doesn't create reports like the other 3 builders have for us, but Drill Down Builder just allows us to add drill down functionality to our external reports. So the main one it's used for is Excel Report Builder. But if you're using SQL reporting services, maybe even just want a link on your website, on a SharePoint site, something like that, you can actually take the drill down URL it creates and put that into anywhere you'd like. I've seen it come through in emails, so that I send you an email, you put the drill down URL in there, and it automatically, you click on it, automatically opens up the GP window for you. Now that does require that you have GP open and you're logged into the company that the drill down is pointing to, so that it can check the security and get to the window you need. So let's look at Drill Down Builder. And I've actually set one up so that you don't have to watch me go through all of that, but I've just said, you know what, I want an account transaction drill down that's going to actually take me to the account transaction smart list. So in my batches, I'm going to see this batch has 2 transactions in it. I want to go see what those 2 transactions are, so I want to drill down to those transactions in a smart list format. So all I've said is in whatever report I add this to, the batch number in that report is going to equal the batch number in this account transaction smart list. So once I have that set up, I can go to my Excel report, pull up that GL Batches, and now I can add a drill down. So if I go to the column, which column do I want to click on to have that drill down go through? I'm going to do it on the batch ID. And then what drill down do I want to use? I want to use the account transaction one. You can see all these different open ones are ones that Microsoft has set up for you to use by default. We can also use those as well. So I'm going to do account transactions, and now all I have to do is tell it in my Excel report builder setup, where is that batch number? I have to tell it where that data exists. So I just pick my table and say here's the batch ID field. Now remember, I changed it to batch ID. So originally it was batch number, the names would match, but I did change that. So I'm going to save this, say OK, and if I republish this, go back to my desktop and find that file. I have that same Excel report file, but now if I find the batch ID, here it is, I click on that. Now Excel gives you a security notice that I have to say yes to. It's just Excel wondering, hey, do you have access in GP? This is SmartList Builder saying I have made changes, so I have to save it, but now it's going to go and drill down to those two. So let me do that again for you without having all those interactions. Let's click on the one that has 13, so I'll say yes. And now it opens that SmartList with those 13 transactions. And actually it looks like there's a few more in there than 13. There's 28. I'm getting the detail out of that. So there may be something wrong in that batch that has more transactions than it's truly showing, or the detail of those transactions. So that is what Drill Down Builder can do for us as well. So now that we've looked at those four modules, SmartList Builder, Excel Report Builder, Navigation List Builder, and Drill Down Builder, I want to show you what we've added to those modules to increase the functionality with 2013 now that we've gotten it back from Microsoft and can add some new features to the product. So let's just take a look. What are the new features? So first, we've added the ability to modify the existing smart lists. That's going to be a big one because when you look at smart list and you say, you know what, I have this sales transaction smart list. It's missing a couple fields, though I'd like to add a couple fields to it. Previously in SmartList Builder, you'd have to set that up by default, add all your tables, create all the calculations that might be necessary, add the go-tos, all of that. We've added a new feature where in SmartList, I just click the Modify button, and it automatically is going to take that sales transaction SmartList, put it into SmartList Builder with the setup I need, and now I can modify it how I want to. We also have added the ability to auto-update SmartList. If you're familiar with SmartList Builder, when you save one, you have to launch SmartList and say yes to update SmartList with that SmartList Builder setup. With the new feature, if you have SmartList open when you save your SmartList Builder setup, it will automatically update SmartList and bring you to that SmartList that you've just updated. If you don't have SmartList Builder or you don't have SmartList open when you save the SmartList Builder setup, you still have to go back and launch SmartList, and you're going to say yes to that message. We can only update it if SmartList is currently open. We also have the option to create a new SmartList Builder setup from the default SmartList. So say you want that sales transaction when you want to add some fields, but you don't want to change the actual original one. We don't have to modify the existing one. We can actually create a new one using the same options as the default one has, but without modifying the defaults. We have that option as well. We've taken all the go-tos that Microsoft has built into the default SmartList and added them as a setup in the go-to setup so that you don't have to recreate the setup of all of those. If you want to use something that isn't there, you can create your own, but if you'd like to use the ones Microsoft has already defined, we're going to pull those in for you as well. We've added functionality to add SQL scripting. We saw that in the budget versus actual. I used a SQL script. That's a new function that we can use in there so that you can write a SQL script right within the SmartList Builder setup to pull the data you need if you're familiar with SQL scripting. We've added a preview data function, so when you're setting up SmartList Builder, you don't have to save it and go to SmartList, or if you're using Excel Report Builder, you don't have to publish it. Go to your Excel report just to see if it's pulling the right data. You can just go to the preview window within the Builder product and view that data from there to tell if it's coming in correctly and how you would expect. We've added new icons for the different table types just to make them a little bit easier to understand which ones you have added. And the biggest feature that I like is the table finder. When I went looking for the posting definitions master to do that setup, I knew that that's the table I wanted, but what happens if I don't know what table I want? We've added a table finder to try and help you get through that process to figure out where the data is coming from. So I'd like to take a look at a couple of those features now. So let's just flip back to GP. And the first was the ability to modify an existing SmartList. So I'm going to go back to SmartList and we'll just pull up the account transaction one. I want to add, let's say, the note field to this. I take notes on my transactions. I want to see those. The SmartList just shows me a note index, so I need to change that. So I'm just going to click Modify. It automatically pulls it in here. And now I can find that note field. And if I go to this, I can tick off the note index show note. So now instead of showing a note index like SmartList does, I'm going to see the actual note. I save this. If I wanted to, I could change this because it isn't an index. It's the actual notes. And let me turn that on as a field. I'm going to save that. And I apologize for the error again. Is a SmartView message we have coming up. There we go. So now I have the account transactions. You can see it didn't create a new one. It modified the original, but I have notes. So if I flip this by journal entry, I don't have any in my company right now, but if I did, I would see the notes here. So when I did that, you saw the second new feature as well, in that I clicked Save and it automatically updated SmartList with the data I had changed. So that's our second new feature. The third option was being able to do a new setup with the same setup as a default one, but not modify the actual default. So let's go back to SmartList Builder. And I'm just going to create a new one. So I'm going to do we'll just call it something like that. And now if I look at the table options, I have a new table option called SmartList. And all I have to say is which one to pull in. Well, I want the account transactions. Save it, and it pulls in the exact setup of the account transactions with the default columns marked. The go-tos, I can go to Add and do the built-in option now and pull in any of the go-tos off of that account transaction SmartList that I'd like. So I know on that one I want the summary inquiry. I can save that, and now I have that go-to added to my account transaction as well if I'd like it there. So that is a couple of the new features there that I can pull in those default SmartLists, but when I save this, it's not going to create or override the account transaction. It's going to create a new one called New Account Transaction with that go-to that I was able to pull in as well. The next feature is SQL scripting, and so that you don't have to watch me type something in, I'm going to pull one up. And if I edit this, you can actually see I've entered in a true SQL script, just selected what my key coming out of that data is, and now I get those fields. The way you add a SQL script is it's just a new table option here. So when I get that, I just have to enter in my SQL script. I can link in GP tables to this or any of the other options here. I can link that all together with my SQL script. So I don't have to write it all in SQL. I can just write the little bit that I need. Now that does only allow for select statements, so you don't have to worry about anybody doing an update statement or a delete statement or anything like that against your data. It's only for selecting data. Once I have that information, the next new feature is the preview. So I'm not sure that my script is quite right. Let's preview the data. So under Options, we have a new Preview Data function. And now I can see here's the data, and it's the first 100 rows is what you're going to get that this SmartList would return if I were to go run it. Now this option is going to be available in SmartList Builder, Excel Report Builder, and Navigation List Builder because it isn't specific to a SmartList in general. It can be used across the board. The other features we've looked at are pretty specific to SmartList, so they're a SmartList Builder only functionality. The next option is new icons, and this is going to be across all three as well. If I pull up an option where I've added every type of table, you can see that I have a bunch of different table options here that the icons have changed for. So not a huge feature there, just something to help you a little bit better differentiate between what you've added. And the last feature that I really love is the table finder. And there's a couple different ways to use the table finder. Now I know the data I want is these user-defined fields on the account maintenance window. I know that's the data I want to see in my SmartList. I just don't know where that data gets stored in the GP tables. So what I can do from within SmartList Builder, I'll just create a new one called Nicole Accounts. And now I'm going to go add a table, and I know the account maintenance windows in the financial series. That's the menu I selected it off of, so I'm going to guess it's there. But I don't know what to pick here. Is it the account master? Is it the index master? Is it something totally different? I don't know. So I'm going to hit the new Find Table button here, and then pick that account maintenance window because I know that's the window. And then I know one of those fields is called user-defined one. So I'm going to pick that, and it automatically tells me what table that's in. I can actually have it hide empty tables if this table only happens to be in one, but sometimes your field might be in 3, 4, 5 different tables. If I hide the empty ones, I know that's not one of the ones I want because I know I have data in that field. So you might leave that checkbox checked just so you don't get a bunch of tables that you might not be using but actually have that data in them if you were using them. I can see details of that table. I can say, oh, it's the GL100. Okay, maybe I needed that for a SQL script, something like that. And it actually is going to build a SQL script down here for you if you'd like. So you can start unchecking fields, and it starts building that script for you if you need that for any reason. And there is a preview here that should be pulling data. Okay, there we go. Just got to be patient. Is going to pull in the data for you. But I know that's the right table now, so I'm going to select it, and now it's added that in, picked the key field for me, so I just have to hit Save. And now I have the field, and now I can say, you know what, I need the account number, and I need these user-defined fields. And I can come get that data a little bit quicker than it would have been if I had to just kind of search through the data to find those tables that I needed. So that's one option, and it's available within SmartList Builder, Excel Report Builder, and Navigation List Builder across the board, but it's also available outside of GP. So maybe you have your SmartList Builder one set up, but you really are building something in SQL reporting services, but you don't know where the data is for that either. We can actually use the table finder within the builders outside of GP, or outside of any of the builder products, but with GP. So if I open my account maintenance window again, I still want these fields, but if I go to Tools, there's a table finder option there now. And then I can say, oh, the account maintenance window pulls from all of these different tables. Okay, I know I want the user-defined one. Select that, and now I've narrowed it down to that one table. I can see the same information I saw before. We still have our preview. But what I can do from here is say, you know what, maybe I do want that in an Excel report. and it'll automatically create an Excel report builder report for me. And now I can go and add my calculations or check which fields I want to see and all of that information to that. So it's kind of a nice way to get the data you need into the report. If you would like to download and start using these new features today, if you're on GP 2013, they are available to you. You just have to be on at least Service Pack 2 for Microsoft Dynamics GP 2013, and then you can install it. The download is available directly from our website, which is eOneSolutions.com. You just need to go to Downloads and then SmartList Builder, and you will see the new download right here. There's also a manual there with the install directions, how to register it, and all of that. It does require new registration keys, so for those you'd want to contact your account manager at Socius and then get you those keys. But we would be happy to have you download that and start using the new features if you are on GP 2013. If you have ideas for other new features we can add to 2013, or any questions on anything I showed today, especially the SmartView or any of the builders, just let me know. My email's on the screen there. I'd be happy to take questions and get you what you need to use the builders more efficiently. The other thing I would like to point out, if you do need a setup that we don't have, or a setup that mimics a default SmartList and you don't have the new features so that you can pull in those default SmartLists, on our website we do have the downloads for all the 2013 SmartLists. I've gone through and set one up in SmartList Builder for every SmartList that's there. If you're thinking I want it in Excel Report Builder, put it into SmartList Builder, duplicate it over, now you have an Excel Report Builder or Navigation List Builder. If you're on GP10 or GP 2010, those downloads are available from Customer Source on Microsoft's site under their Downloads and Updates, and then the Reports Library is where those are there. If you can't find them once you get there, let me know. I can certainly download them and get them to you as well. But 10 and 2010 is available from Microsoft. If you're on 2010 thinking I would like those new features, some of them we can release, and we'll be looking to release them into 2010, some things like the Table Finder and that. Some of it takes advantage of new functionality Microsoft released in 2013 with SP2, so we can't release all of the new features into 2010. Unfortunately, if you're on 10, we won't be going and putting any of the new features back into 10. We're just going to do it for 2010 at this time. So with that, I'd like to thank you for joining us, and I hope I inspired someone, or all of you, hopefully, to take a look at SmartList Builder or to update to the latest release if you're already using it so that you can get all the new features and continue to use it in more and more robust ways. So with that, I'd like to open it to questions, if anybody has any.
Thank you, Nicole. As Nicole mentioned, at this time we'll begin the Q&A session for today. And if you have a question, you could click on the Raise Hand button on the right-hand side of your computer screen. If you typed your audio pin into the phone when you dialed in, and I will unmute you so you can ask your question. Or if you prefer or did not enter your audio pin for the webinar, feel free to type your questions in the question box area on the screen. And Nicole, we do have a few questions, a few that I think I can answer. How do you get SmartList Builder? Well, if you have not already purchased, it's an additional module that you can purchase. And if you have not purchased it, you can contact your account manager at Socius. This module sells for $1,950 plus 17.5% annual enhancement plan. So if you have not purchased SmartList Builder, it is available for purchase I don't know if I have SmartList Builder. If you don't know, you could contact your account manager at Socius, and they would be able to look up your account and tell you if you currently own it. I have another question. What is the difference between SmartList Builder and SmartList Design?
Sure, that's a great question. So SmartList Builder is basically a more robust version of SmartList Designer. SmartList Designer is a free module for those that aren't aware. It came out with from Microsoft with GP 2013 Service Pack 2. And unfortunately, I can't even show it to you because with SmartList Builder, we automatically take over the buttons it creates so that you don't get stuff set up in both and can't use it one place or the other. But SmartList Designer allows you to do some basic functionality of mimicking the default SmartLists that are there, pulling in a SQL view if you want to, something like that. It has some basic calculations. The things it can't do is create go-tos, and it can't create the summary or the multi-company options. So all of the kind of features that we saw with SmartList Builder that were add-on type of functionality that a normal SmartList doesn't do, a lot of those SmartList Designer doesn't allow you to do either. There is a blog if you'd like more information on that on our website. You can go to the blogs link, and it's a little bit older, but if I see if I can find it, I think I did it in December. There's one that is SmartList Builder versus SmartList Designer. Oh, maybe I did it earlier. It is out here somewhere. Like I said, it's definitely from last year, but it's basically a comparison of what the designer can do versus what SmartList Builder can do. You'll see other people have done blogs on it as well, but there is one on our site for that as well. It just kind of has a chart of comparisons. I'll keep looking for it, but if you have other questions, we can.
Okay. There's another question. Where would I look to know if I have SmartList Builder already installed?
The first place you can look is if it's installed and you have access to it, it's going to be under Microsoft Dynamics GP Tools, SmartList Builder. So if you log in as SA or somebody who has power user rights, if it's installed, it's going to show up here. It may be grayed out if it's not registered, but if you do own it and it's installed, it should be there. Another place you can look just to see if it's installed in your environment and maybe you don't have access to it is if you go to Tools, Customization Status. If you see it in this list of products here, then it's installed and you may just not have access to it or it's not registered. The other thing you can do is look in the dynamics.set file in the actual installation directory of your GP install. If it's listed as a product in there, it will be installed, but that customization status window here under Customize is actually pulling from that file, so it should show up there.
Thanks. I have another question. Can this be published as a web page or on SharePoint or an intranet?
So SmartList Builder ones cannot, because those are going to render into SmartList or SmartView as the actual application. If you use Excel Report Builder, you could publish to an Excel file, and that Excel file can be published out to SharePoint if you'd like. In Excel Report Builder, when I'm publishing, oops, I have it open. When I'm publishing, there's actually an option here for SharePoint if I want to go directly to a SharePoint site, or you can publish it to your desktop and upload it to your SharePoint site if you'd like. It's going to be out there unless you've given people access to actually view the data in SQL. They still might see the report. They're not going to get to the data though, so you do have to manage that security as well. Just because you put it out there doesn't mean they're going to get the data.
Thanks. Is SmartList Builder available for GP 2010? And the answer is yes. Just contact your account manager and they can give you a formal proposal if you're interested.
Yep, and one thing with that one is SmartList Builder comes with the 4 different builder modules. On 2010, you're going to get all 4 of those. If you're on 10 still, you only get SmartList Builder and Excel Report Builder. There is no Navigation List Builder or Drill Down Builder there.
Thanks for the clarification, Nicole. Let's see. Did you say that Table Finder was something that would be available for 2010 in some reduced form?
Yeah, so we are looking to take as many of the new features as we can out of the the 2013 feature list and put them into 2010. I can't say when that'll come out. I would foresee in the next couple of months. If whatever we can add, we will. But it's not done yet. But yeah, we will hopefully get Table Finder into 2010 along with the, I'm hoping the preview, and probably the new icons will be there too. Kind of the ones that don't rely on Service Pack 2 of 2013 to do.
Okay. Is SmartList Builder helpful in creating reports from multidimensional analytical reports?
Yes, it can be. Now, the analytical accounting and MDA type tables are a lot more intense than, say, a sales table or anything like that. So it is a little bit more difficult just in finding the data you need, and the Table Finder can help with that, but just being able to link all that data together, because there is a lot going on there. But if the data is stored in any sort of GP table, any sort of SQL table, we can pull it into SmartList Builder and build a report. Just keep in mind we don't have any sort of totaling if it's in SmartList to create a nice formatted report. You're just going to get list type reports, but we can do that. It can pull from any tables that we have.
Thank you. What were the features available from Microsoft Customer Source?
Yep, so on Microsoft's Customer Source, it is, if you're on 10 or 2010, it's the downloads that mimic the default SmartList. We have a import setup that you can import into SmartList Builder that will create a SmartList that looks like the default one, or as close to it as we can get. It'll look just like that, and then it'll create a new SmartList for you, and you can use that to modify so that you don't have to start from scratch. If you say, I know I want to take the account transaction one and make it more robust, you can import that into SmartList Builder and then make it more robust. From there, you don't have to start at scratch.
Is there a reason why the Modify button in SmartList is grayed out and doesn't allow us to modify?
Yep, most likely you don't have access to, this is the button we're talking about, you don't have access to either SmartList Builder if that's installed. If it's not, if you don't have SmartList Builder, that's going to try and open SmartList Designer. So if you don't have security to whichever of those two it's going to try and open, the button will be grayed out.
Let's see. Trying to find some questions we haven't already answered. In SmartList Builder, I currently do not have the option to create a new SmartList. Do you know why that would be?
I'm not sure what they're referencing there, but if you're saying this new option here, it's because that's a new feature of the new release that came out in January, just because if I modify one of the existing smart lists, it is an existing one. If I create a new one, it is new. If it's this table option here, that is also new. If you don't have the option to create anything in here, it's going to be probably a security permissions type of issue.
Okay. Lynn was the one that was asking why she was not able to modify because it's grayed out.
Okay. Sure.
She said that she does have access to SmartList Builder, and it's still grayed out. What I'd recommend, Lynn, is that you contact your Socius consultant, since that's specific to you, and maybe they can work with you on why that might be.
Yeah, I'm guessing we don't have the newest version of SmartList Builder installed.
Okay. I don't see any more questions. We still have a few minutes if anyone wants to type in their questions. If there are no more questions, I'd just like to remind everyone to contact your Socius account manager if you do have questions in the future. Otherwise, I'd like to remind everyone of our next Great Plains webinar. It's scheduled for February 13th on GP licensing. This session will be useful for anyone who has upgraded to GP 2013 or has plans to. I'd like to remind everyone to also periodically check out our Socius website at www.socius1.com for future webinars and events. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Nicole.
Thank you.